Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court in a matter now pending will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please have a seat. And then just for purposes of the record, if you would have your witness spell his last name, please.
Yes, Your Honor, and you might want to take that microphone and pull it towards you. Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
If you would please state and spell your first and last name for me.
Sergeant Jody Faulkner, Jody. My last name is Faulkner, Faulkner.
All right, thank you very much. And Sergeant Faulkner, how are you employed?
I work for the Calhoun Police Department.
And how long have you been, with the Calhoun Police Department?
Approximately 14 years.
And how long were you in law enforcement prior to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how long have you been in law enforcement total?
Approximately 28 years.
Are you familiar with the term post-certified?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what does that mean?
In Georgia, you go through the police academy, which they call mandate. It's a 408-hour training course where you do various topics. Then when you get out of mandate, you go to FTO program, and then you get, again, training there.
Okay, and so what, if anything, happens after you've completed your post-certification?
You take an exam by
Okay.
the state of Georgia, and then you're certified as a police officer.
At that point in time, do you have arrest powers?
Yes, ma'am.
And you mentioned FTO, what is that?
Field training, so it's kind of like on-the-job training. If you ride with a senior officer, and you usually do that for about 3 months, and you're evaluated each week. You're evaluated on your performance, your weaknesses, and your strengths.
Okay. Do you have different positions at the police department?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what positions have you held at the Calhoun Police Department?
I've been a patrol officer. I've been a traffic enforcement officer. I've been a narcotics investigator. I've been a criminal investigator, and then I've also been a training officer.
Okay. What is your current position at Calhoun Police Department?
I'm the training officer.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention back to January 12th, 13th of 2022. What position did you hold at the Calhoun Police Department at that time?
I was the sergeant in the criminal investigations division.
Did you receive any reports regarding a individual by the name of Jamison Timms?
I did.
All right. What did you do upon receiving that report?
I traveled to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta because it was my belief that the child was en route to that location.
And do you recall what person it was that contacted you about this case?
It was Lori Stanfield from DFACS.
Is that unusual for DFACS to contact you about cases?
Not at all.
Okay, why is that?
Because anytime they have a report that they believe law enforcement deals with, they usually call the supervisor of the criminal investigations division.
Now, did you make it to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta?
I did.
All right, and upon your arrival there, did you encounter any individuals?
I did. I arrived before the Tims, but I arrived there and I spoke to a social worker who just told me to wait for them because they hadn't arrived yet.
Okay. Now, did you, in fact, encounter the Tims when you were there?
I did, yes, ma'am.
All right, do you see the defendants in the courtroom?
I do.
All right, could you identify Mr. Brady Tims by something he is wearing?
He's wearing a blue shirt with he's got something red in his pocket.
All right, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the accused. And do you see Miss Carrie Tims in the courtroom?
I do.
All right, could you identify her by something that she's wearing?
She's wearing it's a red, blue, it looks like black striped sweater over her dress, I think.
Okay, I'll let the record reflect that the witness has identified the accused as well. Now, what did you do, while you were at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta?
That first evening, my interaction was fairly limited because once Jamison arrived with his family, they took him back to the observation and they started doing their assessment. I was not allowed in the room when Jamison was being assessed, so I kind of stood outside and waited.
Okay. Did you overhear any statements made by Brady Timms or Carrie Timms while you were there?
Not that I recall specifically.
Okay. How long were you at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta?
I was there a couple hours before the same social worker or she was either a social worker or nurse came out and spoke to me and said that they were
Let's
admitting.
not talk about anything that anybody said.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But I guess, how long did you stay there?
It was a few hours.
Okay. At what point did you leave Children's Healthcare?
When Jameson was being admitted.
Okay. Now, were you ever made aware of the doctor's findings at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I guess, do you remember when it was that you were made aware of that?
I received a phone call from Ms. Stanfield again from DFACS the next day.
At that point, did you take any action on the case?
Just notes at that time.
Okay. And did you do anything, I guess, was there an investigation open at this point in time?
Yes, the evening prior, when I was called by DFACS, an investigation was opened. That's when my official investigation opened.
Okay. Now, did you do anything next as part of your investigation?
Well, after Lori's, Ms. Stanfield called me, then we had another call set up. Apparently, DFACS went in front of the judge to secure emergency custody of Jameson due to his safety that same day. I did speak briefly to Mr. and Mr. Timms over the phone because it was more of a conference call. I was kind of on the conference call when DFACS was taking the custody of Jameson.
Okay. And what, if any, actions did you take next? Let me withdraw that question. Were you ever notified about any other children that had contact with these individuals?
Yes, I was in another hearing involving the case when I was notified that Mr. Timms had a child previous to Jameson.
Okay. Did you ever get that child's name?
Yes.
And did anything as part of your investigation involve?
Yes, I spoke to mother, Miss, and asked her if she'd be willing to bring in for a forensic interview.
What is a forensic interview?
A forensic interview is where we take the child to the Gordon County, they call it the CAC, which is a Child Advocacy Center. And the interviewers there are trained to interview children. They go to their training classes and so they're better at interviewing children than, say, I am.
Okay. And why do you say that?
Because they have more training. That's specifically what they do. That's what they go to training for, and they're certified through the state that that's what they do.
Do you have forensic interview training?
Not for children.
Okay. And is the people that do the forensic interviews at the CAC, are they law enforcement?
No, ma'am.
Are they DFACS?
No, they're not.
Okay. Do they work for any entity, like part of the state?
I'm not sure what part of the state they are, but they are, that's called the Gordon County Child Advocacy Center. I know each county has one, but I'm not sure exactly what division of who actually runs them.
Okay. Now, you said that you had referred for a forensic interview. Did that in fact happen?
It did.
Did you attend that interview?
I did.
Was there anything noteworthy that came out of that interview for you?
Stated that there was a day that
Hold up. I'll start Mr. Hood's, Mr. Hood, what's your objection?
Can we approach?
You certainly can. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury are back in the courtroom. Prior to them being excused to the jury room, there had been an objection as to the question that was being asked by the state, and the court would sustain that objection. Move on to your next question, Ms. Wall.
Yes, Your Honor. Did you attend any hearings regarding this case, Sergeant Faulkner?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you recall approximately how many hearings you attended?
There were several hearings that happened.
I guess, how long did this process take, the hearings?
It was, I believe it was within a 2-week span.
Now, during the course of your investigation, were you staying in touch with DFACS?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know where the family was living at the time of when these incidents would have occurred? I'm sorry. Okay, what is that address? And is that in Gordon County?
It is.
Now, did you take out warrants on this case?
I did.
When did you take out warrants?
March 14th.
March 14th?
Yes, ma'am. Of 2022, sorry.
That's almost 2 months after, is that,
It's just about 2 months to the day, yes, ma'am.
okay. Why did you wait 2 months to take out warrants on this case?
Because I was still completing my investigation. I was waiting for all the doctors' reports. DFACS was giving me any reports they were getting from the hospitals and the doctors.
Certainly.
Here, I'll pass the witness.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Mr. Hood, any questions for this witness?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Detective Faulkner. How are you?
I'm well, sir, thank you.
Let me go back and sort of start at the beginning of your involvement in this case. You indicated that you got a call from Lori Stanfield at DFACS on or about Thursday, January the 13th of 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where were you when you got that call?
I believe I was at my residence.
Okay. And were you on duty or off duty?
I would have been off duty, sir.
Okay. And upon getting that call, you got into a vehicle and you drove to the facilities at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Is that right?
Correct.
And how did you get there? In a car, I presume.
Yes.
Whose vehicle was it? Is it a personal vehicle or an official vehicle?
An official the city of Calhoun vehicle.
Okay. And how were you dressed?
I would have been wearing khaki pants and a polo shirt. I don't remember what color it was.
Okay. Do you typically carry a badge with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gun?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have your badge and your gun at the hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you remember about what time you arrived at CHOA?
I don't recall the exact time, no, sir.
Okay. And when you got there, upon entering the hospital, what did you do?
I went to the emergency department. I walked in and I told the young lady at the desk who I was and what I was there for. She said the Tims have not arrived yet, so just hang out here. When they get here, we'll let you know.
Okay. And did you make any phone calls while you were at the hospital before the Tims arrived there?
Before the Tims arrived? No, sir, I don't believe so.
Did you make any phone calls on the way to the hospital?
No, sir.
Did you receive any phone calls in your vehicle on the way to the hospital?
I don't believe getting any phone calls on my way there, no, sir.
Okay. Did you receive any phone calls while you were at the hospital waiting for the Tims?
Not that I remember, sir.
And how long were you there before the Tims arrived?
It wasn't long, maybe 15, 20 minutes, I would say.
Okay. And you were waiting there in the lobby?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you see them or interact with them when they arrived?
I introduced myself. I knew the grandfather of the child, so we said hello.
Okay. You said that Jameson was then taken to a room. Where did you go?
I went past where the waiting room was, but I was kind of like in the hallway, kind of where the room was at. So I was kind of in the hallway.
Okay. And in the interim, as I understand it, you conferred or spoke with the defects liaison at the hospital. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Was that before the Tims arrived or after the Tims arrived?
That would have been after.
Okay. And did you seek her out or did she seek you out?
We met in the hallway, sir. So they knew who I was. I was there. The young lady came up and spoke to me, said she was going to get some documents that she needed to fill out by the Tims so we could have access to the medical records. She asked me just to hang out there in the hallway.
Okay. So they informed you, they being either DFACS or CHOA, that the Tims were to fill out some paperwork so that you could have access to this child's medical records. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And they understood who you were, they knew you were a member of law enforcement, is that right?
Yes,
Is
yes,
that
sir.
correct? And you indicate that you were there a few hours, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then you left.
Yes, sir.
And then the next day, which would be January the 14th, you received another phone call. And was that again from Lori Stanfield?
It was.
And you were involved in a conference call at that point. Is that correct?
There was 2 conference calls that day with Miss Stanfield, yes.
Okay. And so who, on the first conference call, who all was on the conference call?
It was Dr. Brown, Dr. Fleming, Miss Stanfield, Jody, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Macilio, and then a Heather Gates.
Okay. So Dr. Brown, was this the first time that you had spoken with Dr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And who was basically leading this conversation? Who was doing most of the talking?
It was a group effort. I was more of an observer than a participant, but I mean the doctors and then Miss Stanfield also talked.
Okay. And so, as I understand your testimony, the evening before this conference call, you had made the determination that you were opening up a criminal investigation. Is that correct?
Well, anytime we get a call, we open up there's a police report and an investigation anytime somebody calls the police.
Okay. Well, in fact, your presence at the hospital was a criminal investigation, right?
Again, anytime somebody calls the police, we do have an investigation, sir, yes.
Yeah. You weren't down there just because you were doing defects a favor and hanging out at the hospital, right? You're there for a purpose.
I was there, yes, sir.
Okay. So you have that conference call. Then later that afternoon, there's another conference call. Is that correct? I'm speaking of the January the 14th.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. And at some point during these conference calls, you reached the conclusion, or given the conclusion, that what happened here was non-accidental. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you?
Okay. Was during these conference calls, either one, on January the 14th, were you given the picture by any of the medical professionals involved in this call that they had determined what happened here to Jameson was non-accidental?
I believe Dr. Brown is the one that said that the injuries that they found to Jameson were not accidental, yes.
Okay. Was that during the first conference call or the second conference call?
It would have been the first call.
Okay. And so if you can think back from the time of the first conference call back to your arrival at CHOA, how much time had gone by at that point?
Probably 14 to 16 hours.
Was there any talk during either of these conference calls about any further medical testing that was going on with Jameson?
Yes, I know Jameson was still continued to be treated well. That first conference call was going on, yes, sir.
Okay. Was there any discussion about blood that had been taken from Jameson that was going to be sent off somewhere to be tested?
I don't specifically remember blood being mentioned, sir.
Okay. Was there any reference made by Dr. Brown or any other medical professionals during this call regarding genetic testing of blood that had been taken from Jameson that was to be sent off to be tested?
They said they were still running tests, sir. As the specific tests, I don't know.
Were you ever made aware by CHOA, any of the doctors at CHOA, or anyone from DFACS, that at some point in time after Jameson's visit at CHOA, genetic results had been received by CHOA?
I did hear, I believe it was probably from DFACS, yes, sir.
Do you remember when you heard that?
I don't remember a specific date, no, sir.
Okay. You took out warrants in this case in March of 2022, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you hear about genetic test results before you issued these warrants or after?
It was prior to me taking out the warrants.
Okay. So what was your understanding about genetic testing in Jameson before you issued these warrants?
I believe in one of the doctor's reports, they did say that there was some sort of genetic anomaly, but that didn't explain the injuries that were sustained.
Okay. And do you know whose report that was?
I don't recall off the top of my head which report it was, sir.
Okay. Do you recall reading or ever seeing in any of these reports the phrase variant of unknown significance?
I don't know if it was worded that way, sir. I mean, there's a 500-page report. I don't remember what it was worded exactly.
I feel you. There's a lot of records in this case. I understand. But you don't recall seeing that phrase?
Not that phrase. I'm not saying it's not there, but I don't recall seeing it.
Okay. You have your report with you, Detective?
I do, sir.
On the last, I don't know if I'll call it the last page of your report, but the last page of your report that has a narrative, very short paragraph right there. Are you with me?
My format is a little different, but go ahead.
Okay. It references something that you did on March the 14th of 2022. I don't want to read it. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. What does it indicate that you did?
After going through the doctor's reports and conferring, I took out the warrants for your client and Ms. Timms.
Okay. And it indicates that the doctors have ruled out any medical conditions that would cause Jamison to sustain these injuries. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, as of March the 14th of 2022, which doctor had ruled out any medical condition that could have caused Jamison these injuries?
I believe, again, Dr. Brown's reports were more prevalent, so I don't remember the exact doctor's name, but again, the torn frenulum, I don't know that has anything to do with any genetic anomalies, so that's one of the other injuries that he sustained.
Okay. Well, admittedly, you're not a physician, correct?
Correct, sir.
And you don't have any knowledge or expertise in conditions that might cause or make one more susceptible to tears of connective tissue. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you're not a geneticist.
I'm not, sir.
So your understanding as of March the 14th of 2022 was that any possible condition other than non-accidental trauma had been medically ruled out in this case?
Correct. The doctor, who's the child abuse expert, was telling me in their expert opinion that it was non-accidental trauma. I acted off their expertise. I acted off their expertise.
So what information, in terms of the genetic testing that I was speaking about earlier, where Jameson's blood was drawn and it was sent off, as of March of 2022, what had CHOA received regarding that testing?
Well, like I said, they had found that one anomaly, and they said that that was not, that whatever they had located was not not a cause for the injury sustained.
Are you confident they had received that in March?
I'm confident that's what I was told, yes, sir.
Okay. But you don't know who told you that?
I believe I read it in one of the 500-page reports, sir. If I had we could go through 500 pages.
Okay. If I told you my understanding is that CHOA did not receive that information until May of 2022, would you dispute that?
I don't know where you heard it from, sir.
Same record you're looking at.
Okay.
On the 14th day of March, you issued a total of 4 warrants in this case, is that correct?
Correct.
2 for each defendant?
Yes, sir.
Warrant 2022-384256. And let me back up for the benefit of the folks in the jury. How do you get a warrant? How does that work?
We fill out the warrant form, and then we go and we usually do by Skype, but you can go in front of the magistrate judge. You present your probable cause to the magistrate judge, and they either grant the warrant or deny the warrant.
Okay. And you have to basically give a sworn statement, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So warrant number 2022-384256, a warrant that you prepared, says that,
Excuse me, we're taking up phones. I told people in this courtroom yesterday there were no phones in this courtroom. If you got your phone out, you need to hand it to the deputies. They'll give it to you when we take the break. We're not having phones in here. I've already heard one phone go off this morning, and that's the phone I saw out, so they'll give it back to you at the break. Excuse me, Mr. Hood. Go ahead.
okay, warrant 2022-384256, do you have your warrants with you?
I
Detective?
don't, sir.
Okay. If I can approach, Jody.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you'll look at those, and I'll come get some.
Yes, sir.
Hand you the other 2 off now.
Okay. Do you want these back?
Yeah, that's time to review this.
Yes.
I'm sorry to take.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The first warrant that I had you review accuses Mr. Brady Timms of the offense of aggravated battery by causing a scratch to the face of Jamison Timms, 3 broken ribs, and a fractured vertebrae. Between the dates of January the 10th at 9:00 a.m. and January the 12th of 2022 at 9:00 a.m. Where did those dates come from?
Those were dates prior to our involvement, so that's when, that's just dates that I put on the warrant.
Just any date before you received the call?
Within reason, sir. Within reason, it was just a couple of days before the incident, and from what they said, the injuries were fresh.
Okay. Well, they said which injuries were fresh?
Well, later, in one of the hearings, the pediatrician that they had brought Jamison to had said that one of the torn frenulum was fresh. And then the scratch on the face appeared, it wasn't scabbed over, so it appeared fresh, sir.
Okay. All right. The warrant indicates that Mr. Timms knowingly and maliciously caused these injuries to the face, the ribs, and a fractured vertebrae between the dates that I just spelled out for you. How? What did he do?
I'm sorry?
What did he do? What did he do knowingly and maliciously to cause these injuries?
Well, the Jamison was 3 months old. He's not able to hurt himself, so he was injured, and by the doctor's accounts, non-accidental. So they were calling it child abuse.
Okay, well, you drafted this warrant, correct?
Yes, sir.
You said that he did it knowingly and maliciously.
Yes, sir.
What did he do knowingly and maliciously to harm this child?
Inflicted the injuries to the child.
How?
I mean, are you asking mechanically how that happened, sir? I'm not sure what you're asking.
It's your warrant. How did he do it? What did he do?
The baby was injured. The baby's not old enough to have an accident, so it's non-accidental trauma, and one of the two hurt the baby.
Which one?
One or both, sir. The baby had multiple injuries.
The second warrant related to Mr. Timms charges him with cruelty to children in the first degree, and that he willingly and knowingly caused Jamison Timms cruel and excessive physical pain between January the 10th of 2022 and January the 12th of 2022. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Same question as to that warrant. What did Mr. Timms do knowingly and intentionally to cause this child physical pain?
Again, 3 fractured ribs, fractured vertebrae, a torn frenulum, and a large scratch to the face would cause the child pain.
What did he do to cause those injuries?
He was a caretaker of the child that was injured.
Ms. Timms has the exact same warrants as Mr. Timms, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you looked at the indictment in this case?
The actual indictment, no, I went to grand jury, but I have not looked at the indictment, sir.
Okay. are you aware that one of the counts of the indictment alleges that these two acted jointly to injure this child? Not individually, but jointly?
I'm not aware of that, no, sir.
Do you have any idea how these two acted together to injure this child?
Well, again, as a father, if my child is injured, I mean, you know if your child is injured, if your significant other or spouse injured that child, if you don't say anything, you're acting jointly. You're an accessory to the crime. I mean, you're helping them perpetrate your crime if the baby is injured and you know the baby's injured.
Okay. As a father, if your baby is injured, does that mean that you injured your baby?
No, sir.
The genetic anomaly that you referenced a few moments ago, are you aware of what that is? Did you research that at all?
No, sir.
Can I ask you why not?
Because I was relying on the expert of the doctors.
Okay. Well, you would agree with me that Dr. Verena Brown is not a post-certified law enforcement officer in the state of Georgia.
I would agree with you, yes.
She may want to be, but she's not. Would you agree with me?
I wouldn't agree whether what she wants to be or not, but she's not a certified post officer.
Okay. The responsibility for investigating this case lies with you, correct?
Correct.
So if I understand your position correctly, you essentially went and did what the doctors at CHOA told you to do.
No, sir. They provided me with the reports. I looked at the reports. And again, I rely on medical experts. I'm not a doctor, if we just discussed. And after the doctor's findings of it, non-accidental injury, that means that a crime occurred. I had probable cause to believe a crime occurred. I took the warrants for that crime.
When is the last time that you spoke to a medical professional in this case, detective?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. It's been a couple of years, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Bernard?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Detective Faulkner.
Good morning.
All right. So just at the outset, you said January 12th was the day that you went down to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Would that maybe be January 13th?
I didn't say the 12th. I think Mr. Hood said the 12th, but it was the 13th. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it was the 13th that you drove down.
Yes, ma'am.
And you weren't in full uniform, but you did have your badge. You were easily identifiable as law enforcement, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you went up and spoke to the young lady at the front desk, what did you tell her?
I told her that I had received a call, and I was wondering if I believe I just said the Tims had made it to the hospital yet.
Okay, so when you said you had received a call, what information did you convey about what kind of call you had received?
It was real brief. They were very busy at the hospital. That was around the COVID time, so they had several places blocked off, and it was the hospital was, as you can imagine, kind of busy.
Okay. So, but did you communicate anything about there being an open investigation or accusations that a crime had been committed?
No, ma'am, not at the time when I was conversing with the front desk.
Okay. And while you were waiting for the Tims to arrive at the hospital, did you speak to any social workers, DFACS liaisons, anyone at all?
No, ma'am.
So when is the first time you ended up speaking with Dr. Brown?
On the conference call that next day on the 14th.
And when is the first time you saw Jamison Timms?
The night at the hospital when
Okay.
when they came in.
So you actually physically met with Brady and Carrie and Brady's parents that were there with them?
Well, just briefly, and I believe I believe Carrie's parents were there too, because I remember seeing, because I know her father, so.
So a bunch of folks arrived from Gordon County with Jamison with them, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did Jamison appear to you?
I believe, I mean, it was January, so it was cold. I don't remember exactly what he was wearing, but I'm sure he was wearing, it was January.
Well, I'm just asking about his physical condition. What did you observe about his physical condition when you first laid eyes on Jamison Timms?
I didn't see him well enough to say, because like when they got there, they took them back to a room, and then that's when I was, they had me outside in the hallway. I never went into the room to see Jamison while he was being, even without any, jackets or anything else on.
So at any point while you were at the hospital, did you actually look at Jamison with your eyes to see what his condition, what his physical condition was?
I didn't get to examine him, no ma'am.
Did he appear, from what you saw, did he appear to be in distress?
Not that I remember.
Was there anything about the way his multiple caregivers were interacting with him that gave you any concern about his physical condition or any abuse?
Not at the time, no ma'am.
Okay. I mean, at any time, did anything that you observed about his parents or grandparents or the people around him give you any concern as an investigator that there was abuse happening?
No ma'am.
Okay. And I don't want to go over too much of the ground that Mr. Hood already covered with you, but we are obviously trying to get to the basis for the conclusions that you drew when you swore out the warrant and swore out the indictment. Was there anything that you observed about Jamison and his family when you were interacting with them that gave you concern?
Other than injuries to the child that I was made aware of,
Okay. Well, so did you see any of these injuries?
I saw photographs.
Okay. And Your Honor, if I could approach the witness?
Certainly.
Could you show the photographs that gave you the concern about the fractured ribs and vertebrae that you mentioned in your warrant?
Your Honor, I'm gonna check because I don't think he knows what was just handed.
Well,
Your
for
Honor,
purposes of the record, what did you just hand the witness, Ms. Bernard?
I handed the witness the evidence that has been admitted by the state, and I
Would
did
you
not read the
identify,
numbers. Let me
identify
read
the
you
numbers?
Yes, ma'am.
So Sergeant Faulkner, were you able to identify which of the state's exhibits reflect the fractured ribs and compressed vertebrae that you previously referred to in your warrant?
There's none, like I said, I believe the picture that I saw was as you stated, there was the arrows pointed out. I don't see those here.
Okay. Okay. Do you remember, so did you ever see any scans that did not have arrows or other demonstratives placed on them?
I don't remember seeing any photos of the broken bones without arrows, no ma'am.
Okay. So really, you were just relying on what the doctors told you, right?
Well, I mean, I can see clearly in the pictures the injury to the mouth and the cheek, but as far as the broken bones, I refer to the expert doctor, yes ma'am.
Well, so did you talk to Dr. Brown about why she didn't take a photograph on January 14th when she examined Jameson?
I don't know what Dr. Brown did or didn't do when she examined Jameson, so I wouldn't have, I don't know, ma'am.
I mean, I thought you said you had talked to Dr. Brown extensively about the case in the conference calls, and perhaps afterwards as the investigator. You never talked to her about what she did to examine Jameson and discover these alleged injuries?
I didn't ask her specifically what picture she took.
Okay, well, did you ask her if she took any pictures?
I don't believe I specifically asked her if she took pictures. I know there were images taken. I don't know exactly which person, which doctor or tech took the pictures.
Okay, so if I, and if I could retrieve the exhibits.
Certainly.
Do you want all of them? Okay.
So I'm showing you States Exhibit 9 and 10, which are photographs that Dr. Brown took on January 14th while Jameson was at the hospital. Had you seen those photographs before?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you ever wonder why there was no picture of the allegedly torn frenulum, along with these pictures from when Dr. Brown examined Jameson personally on January 14th?
Again, I'm not sure what pictures Dr. Brown took or not. I didn't ask her specifically which one she took.
Well, when you were reviewing the medical records from Children's Hospital of Atlanta, did you have occasion to review the portion where it said that they did not find a torn frenulum, and in fact that the frenulum was intact on January 14th when Jameson was examined by numerous individuals at CHOA?
No, ma'am.
So did you just not come across that in the medical records, or how did that not come to your attention as the investigator on the case?
I don't recall that being in the medical report. Not saying I didn't miss it, but there's, again, 500 pages of it.
There are a lot of pages to that. Now, if I could inquire as to your further investigation of the medical report, were you involved in any of the portions that where it was decided that the Tims would not have access to any information about their baby?
That's not my decision to make, man. No, ma'am.
Okay. So what were the decisions that were your responsibility to make in this case?
Well, like I said, when I went to the hospital, I was not granted access to Jameson because they were doing medical, their medical evaluation. Obviously, I wasn't granted access, on the 14th when they were still doing the X-rays or MRIs or whatever else tests the doctor was running, and I guess I kind of forgot the question, ma'am. I apologize.
I was asking which decisions you were responsible for making in this case. If it was not, what photographs to take of the alleged victim and the alleged injuries, or how these alleged injuries were caused, et cetera.
Well, again, I refer to the medical experts on that. That's what they do for a living, okay? I gather the reports and I try to do the best I can with what I have at the information at the time. And so my decisions at the time were to take the warrants for your client and her husband's arrest.
Okay. And if I could approach the witness with the CHOA medical records. I'm showing you my copy, which does have something circled, but do you note on page 30 of the CHOA medical records anything about the status of Jameson's frenulum? I know, like you said, it's a big old set of reports.
I apologize. It says it appeared intact at this time.
Okay. And that was on January 14th?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Okay. And I'll retrieve that. So had you seen this notation in the medical records before?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Does that give you any concern about why Dr. Brown did not take a photograph of the state of Jamison's mouth on January 14th?
I guess if Dr. Brown didn't see any torn frenulum, then you can't photograph what you don't see.
Okay. I would agree with you on that. And I did, on your warrants, you did not actually mention a torn frenulum, right?
Correct, I don't believe I did.
You mentioned a scratch on the face, 3 broken ribs, and a fractured vertebrae, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And just to echo Mr. Hood's question, what do you think Carrie Timms did to her son, Jamison Timms?
Well, again, she was the only her and her husband were the only caretakers of the baby. It got injured, not accidentally. The child abuse expert from the hospital that we use for the medical expert told me that, it was non-accidental trauma to the baby. The baby's not old enough to injure itself. One of the parents obviously injured the baby.
And so you did say the medical expert that we use. Have you used Dr. Brown in other cases?
When I say me, that's CHOA. We take our children, or we take child trauma victims usually to CHOA, and Dr. Brown is the expert at CHOA.
So y'all have had kind of extended interactions, I guess, over the years with Dr. Brown.
That was the first time I've ever met Dr. Brown or even interacted with Dr. Brown.
Okay. Well, so was it just the fact that she was employed at CHOA that gave her a lot of credibility in your mind?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you figured she works at CHOA, we take all of our potential victims to CHOA, she probably knows what she's talking about.
Well, that's her job. She's a child abuse expert. That's who the children go to. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, and as Mr. Hood said, your job is to be the investigator, right? And to gather the evidence from multiple different sources so that you can decide how things are to be brought before the people of Gordon County to make their decisions, right?
I have a piece in that, yes.
Okay. And you were in fact the one who testified to the grand jury 2 years after the warrants were issued for Brady and Carrie Timms, right?
Yes, ma'am, I was at the grand jury.
Okay. And did you tell the grand jury kind of what you're telling us now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, which is basically, this is what the doctor said, so I took out the warrants.
With the evidence I had probable cause to believe that the Tims hurt their child, yes.
Okay. Now, do you recall ever seeing an email from a William Ross Wilcox regarding genetic testing results conducted on Jamison Timms?
No, ma'am, doesn't sound familiar.
Okay. Did you have any occasion to do any research into the types of injuries that were being alleged here regarding rib fractures and an alleged vertebral fracture on an infant?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So did you research anything about the relationship of collagen to bone development or anything that might cause small fractures in an infant?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So if I mentioned the call 1A2 and 1A1 genes, would that mean anything to you in terms of the way that a human body develops in its early years of life?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you review any of the testing results that were received back from the tests that were conducted at CHOA on Jamison Timms?
They were in the medical report.
Okay. Well, but so did you review them?
To the best of my ability, yes, ma'am.
So did you notice the results that were out of reference range, too high or too low?
There were tons of pages like that, ma'am. I don't know exactly what most of that means, to be honest with you, but there were some that said yes.
Well, and so when you said in your warrant that the medical doctors had ruled out anything else that possibly could have contributed to these injuries on Jamison Thames, was that based on your review of the records or what Dr. Brown told you?
It was a combination of both.
Okay. Now, the conference call that you participated in on January 14th, at that point, Jamison had already been admitted to CHOA, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And at the point where he had been admitted to CHOA, do you know if that was a decision that was made in concert with, was that a decision that was made by DFACS? Was that a decision that was made by CHOA? Was that a decision that was made by you?
I believe that night the decision that he was admitted that evening was by CHOA.
Okay, do you remember who at CHOA?
No, ma'am.
And after you got the warrant on March 14th, did my client come and turn herself in right away?
I don't know when she turned herself in. I called both of the attorneys that were representing your clients at the time and told them that I was just taking warrants.
Okay. And so do you recall when Ms. Thames turned herself in?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever speak with Ms. Thames about the case?
Your Honor, we may need to approach.
Okay. And everyone, please be seated. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have returned to the courtroom. And Ms. Bernard, I'll let you ask your question, then go ahead.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. So just to be clear, you had two conference calls on January 14th, 2022, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the first conference call, can you tell me the people who were on that first conference call?
It was myself, Dr. Brown, Dr. Fleming, Lori Stanfield, Jody Masilio, I guess her name is, and then Miss Gates, Heather Gates.
And what time was that call?
That was approximately 11:38.
11:38 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point, had the decision been made to remove Mr. and Mrs. Thames from the hospital and take custody of Jamison?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Was that a subject that y'all discussed on that conference call?
No, ma'am.
So there was no discussion of whether or not there was no discussion of removal of custody from Brady and Carrie Thames at the 11:38 conference call?
Not in that conversation, no, ma'am.
So the second conference call, what time did that take place?
That was at 2:44 p.m.
And who was on that conference call?
Miss Stanfield, myself, Miss Hunt, and then one of the liaisons from DFACS who works down at CHOA.
Do you recall, was that Anna Ray or Heather Gates, perhaps?
I don't recall who was actually the liaison at that time.
And at that point, had the decision been made to remove custody of Jamison from Brady and Carrie Thames?
Yes, ma'am. DFACS gone in front of juvenile judge Moss and got an emergency order to remove the baby from the Tim's custody.
Okay, so did you have any investigative role between 11:38 a.m. and 2:44 p.m. on January 14th?
No, ma'am.
So you were not involved in anything during that point?
No, ma'am. I didn't go to the emergency hearing.
Even though you had been down at the hospital the day before, you did not go to the emergency hearing on January 14th?
The emergency custody hearing, no, ma'am.
Was there any law enforcement present there, do you know? If you don't know, you
I don't know, ma'am.
All right, and so Ms. Hunt was on both of those calls, right? April Hunt?
I don't believe she was on the first one with Miss Stanfield and I, with the doctor.
Okay. And so had you talked to Ms. Hunt about the home visit that she had done with Brady and Carrie on January 12th?
No.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Ms. Hunt about the home visit that she conducted with the Timms family?
Briefly.
When did you talk to Ms. Hunt about that home visit?
It was sometime after that emergency hearing.
Do you know about how far after?
It wasn't long. It was in the same week.
And you learned from April Hunt that she had no concerns arising out of that home visit and that it appeared to be a safe home with both parents positively engaged with the child, feeding him correctly, etc.
She said the home was safe. I don't know about it. She didn't say she didn't have any concerns.
Okay, but she did tell you that the home was safe.
Physically, the home appeared safe.
And she did not share that she had any concerns about the safety of the home.
We didn't discuss any concerns.
Did you talk to anybody else who had made a home visit to the Timms family home?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever make a visit to the Timms family home?
No.
Now, who else from DFACS besides Ms. Stanfield and Ms. Hunt did you communicate with about this case?
I believe Carla Conduff, I believe that's her last name.
And when did you communicate with her?
It was throughout the case. She was in training at the time, I believe. So she was my point of contact for most of the records that I got.
She was your point of contact at DFACS?
For the records, since she wasn't investigating any cases on her own, if I needed to get some records, they would send Miss Carla to meet up, and I would get the records from Miss Carla.
So what records did you end up getting from Ms. Carla?
A copy of the thick medical reports, and then there was a smaller packet of, again, medical reports.
And when did you receive these packets?
I couldn't give you an exact date. Just when they got them from the hospital, they made copies and then they provided me with them.
And was it before or after May 24th of 2022 that you received these packets?
It would have been before May.
Would it have been before March 14th?
Yes.
Did you receive any supplemental packets or records after March 14th?
I don't believe so, no.
Did you ask Ms. Carla or anybody else at DFACS, has there been any additional medical records that can be available for my investigation?
No.
And is that just because you were trusting that they would continually provide you with any relevant records? Or tell me a little bit about your decision making there.
We had good communication, so I was relying on them to let me know if there was anything else that came in. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But none of them ever told you about the genetic testing results that revealed a genetic variant in collagen production for Jamison Timms?
Again, as I stated, I remember them mentioning that there was a gene anomaly, and I thought that was prior to the May, but it may not have been. But we discussed it verbally.
Okay. And when you say we, who were you discussing the genetic anomaly with?
I believe that phone conversation was with Miss Hunt.
Okay. So did you ever speak to any of the geneticists or doctors from the genetics office yourself?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever speak with any medical providers or professionals regarding the state of the genetic testing or its relevance?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you only spoke to a DFACS employee about that?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last DFACS hearing that you attended or participated in prior to March 14th, 2022, when you took out the warrants?
I couldn't give you the exact date.
Okay. Do you recall approximately how many hearings you attended between January 14th and March 14th of 2022?
There was several. I would say probably at least 3 or 4 days worth.
And did you testify at any of those hearings?
I believe I did on one briefly.
Okay. And what did you testify to at that hearing? Just
My role in that part of the investigation, that I received a call for, child abuse or a child that had been injured. We spoke to the doctor, Dr. Brown, and then that's about what my involvement at the juvenile hearing was.
Do you recall any action being taken or hearings being scheduled in the DFACS case after March 14th, 2022?
I don't recall any that I didn't go to any. I don't recall if they had any or not.
Okay. Do you remember the last time that you spoke with anyone from DFACS prior to taking out the warrant on March 14th, 2022?
Yes, I was still in contact. I couldn't give you the exact date on when was the last time I spoke to anyone from DFACS, but we were in contact about the case several times.
Okay. And were they sharing new information with you, or what was the content of those conversations?
We were going over the facts of the case, what happened at the court hearings, things like that.
Okay. Did you ever speak to Dr. Sarah Harbin Pickett?
I saw her testify on the stand in the juvenile hearing, but I never questioned her personally.
Okay. So you never spoke to her about her experience or asked her any questions yourself?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And how about a Dr. Carla Garcia from Erlanger? Did you ever speak to her?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ever review any medical records from Erlanger?
I was not involved in any case that there would be records from Erlanger.
Okay. So I assume then you did not speak to any of the radiologists or other staff up at Erlanger?
I would have no reason to go to Erlanger. That was not my investigation.
So you never had any occasion to find out about the blood work that was done on Jamison Timms in November of 2021 that was partially lost?
I heard about that afterwards, but I hadn't heard about that when IO was called.
Now, in the warrants that you took out against my client and her husband, you noted, you are making the accusation, you swore to in front of a magistrate judge, that she willingly and knowingly did maliciously cause bodily harm to her son, Jamison Timms, causing the scratch on the face, 3 broken ribs, and a fractured vertebra between the dates of January 10th and January 12th of 2022. And the place of occurrence of the offense was, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you never visited that location.
No, ma'am.
And you have never been able to determine any theory for how these injuries could have been inflicted by my client, have you?
I'm sorry, could you,
Have you ever developed a theory about what it is my client did to her son?
well, your client's son, his 3 broken ribs and a broken vertebrae, so your client or her husband are both injured the child.
Okay. But, you know, I assume you have seen cases where people have actually broken ribs, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
you can see on the x-ray, you know, here is one part of the rib and here's the other part of the rib. You can see the break, right?
I've seen x-rays, yes, ma'am.
So in those cases, you probably could have picked out the x-ray that showed the broken ribs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But in this case, you were not able to identify which of the photographs showed the allegedly compressed vertebrae or the broken ribs, right?
Well, the pictures I were shown, I from the evidence, it had the arrows, so yes, ma'am, I could pick them out.
Okay. Well, but what I'm asking is, without the arrows, you've certainly seen cases where people have broken bones and you can see in the x-ray the break in the bones, right?
Yes, ma'am, I've seen x-rays that show a broken bone, yes.
Okay. But you were not able to notice in any of these pictures a break of any of the ribs, were you?
Again, I saw some pictures of an x-ray. I didn't see anything but I'm not a doctor, as you've pointed out.
Well, and neither am I. So we've got
Okay.
two lay people having a conversation here about trying to figure out what happened. And I am wondering if perhaps the doctor's description of multiple fractured ribs made it sound worse than it really actually was. Do you think that's a possibility here?
No, ma'am, any child, any 3-month-old that has broken ribs is very serious to me.
Okay. Serious enough that you would want to go to the location that you're saying that it happened and try to figure out how it happened?
It would be yes.
And did you talk to any of the doctors about what kind of treatment and care Jamison would need for these injuries?
The treatment, no, ma'am.
Okay. So, and when you looked at the medical records, were you able to see that they actually did not give any medical treatment to Jamison?
Well, as an adult, I know if you have broken ribs, they don't do anything for you. They don't treat you. I mean, they wrap them up and that's it. So I'm not sure if that would change in a pediatric or not, ma'am.
Well, I mean, they would wrap it up, right?
Sometimes, not all the time. I've had friends that have broken ribs that you just have to get through. You have to go through it. It hurts.
Okay. And how about a broken vertebrae? Is that the kind of thing that, from your knowledge, you would just not do anything about?
There would probably be some treatment, ma'am.
Okay. But you know now, from looking at the medical records, that there was no treatment or even special handling instructions given to the foster mother who took custody of Jamison, right?
I'm not exactly sure what was told to the person who got custody, ma'am. I'm not sure what was told.
Okay. Did you talk to any of the nurses at the hospital or any of the other hospital staff about anything that they had observed about Jamison?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you see Jameson at any point after he was taken into the room on January 13th?
Just from standing outside in the hallway. I wasn't given access into the room.
Okay. Were you ever able to observe him being in any discomfort?
I remember, obviously, there was some crying coming from the room, but again, I assume, with a 3-month-old baby, that happens.
Okay. Were there any other doctors that you talked to other than who you've already told us about?
No, ma'am.
Did you read any medical journal articles about these types of injuries or underlying conditions?
No, ma'am.
Did you attempt to determine any health history of Jameson's family? If anyone else had had any medical conditions that might relate to bone fragility?
No, because that's protected by HIPAA, and I wouldn't have access to those records.
Did you find any of that information in the records that you were given by DFACS?
There was some medical history, I think, for at least one of the parents. I guess I kind of remember. I didn't go through it that seriously.
Okay, because at that point, the baby had already been taken away from the parents, right? At the point where you were reviewing these records?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, and you've been in law enforcement for 28 years, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever questioned a doctor's assessment of a situation?
Personally, yes, not professionally.
Not professionally?
Not professionally.
Okay. If I could have just one moment, Your Honor. Do you know a Detective Net Printup?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how do you know Detective Printup?
She's retired now, but she worked at the Calhoun Police Department.
Okay. Was she working at the Calhoun Police Department in November of 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know anything about her investigating or being involved in an investigation of the Timms family relating to their November visit to Erlanger Hospital?
Not at the time that I was called. I heard about it later, but I didn't know anything about it at the time.
Where did you find out about it later?
I believe it was Miss Hunt that had mentioned, and that's when I heard about the Erlanger thing after, and this was a couple months after that I was involved in this case.
Okay. Did you ever speak with Detective Printup?
I did.
Okay, about this case?
I asked her what she thought had happened, and she really didn't give me an answer. She was getting ready to retire. She didn't really answer my question.
I think those are all my questions for you. Thank you for your time, Investigator
Thank you.
Faulkner.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Ms. Law, anything on redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Sergeant Faulkner, part of your investigation was gathering the medical records in this case, as you testified to on cross, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If I show you part of those medical records regarding some dates that you were asked about on cross-examination. If I could do that, have you see if it refreshes your recollection about some dates that you were asked about on cross.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Now, you were asked on cross-examination about when genetic testing had been done in this case. Do you
Yeah.
remember that question? And you were asked about the date of when those tests had come back, and the implication was that it was in May. Now that you've reviewed this, does it refresh your recollection as to when the first genetic testing had come in?
Yes, ma'am. It was back in February, on February 3rd,
Of what year?
2022.
Okay. Sergeant Faulkner, do you take out a warrant in every case that you investigate?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Hood?
Nothing further.
Ms. Bernard?
Just one further question. Were you aware of the communications regarding genetics testing in May of 2022?
I heard through the grapevine, I was never officially told that there was genetic testing in May.
Okay. I don't think I have anything further. Thank you.